Let me take you back. There was a time in my life, before the stages, before the suits, before the speaking engagements, where everything felt like it was falling apart. I'm not talking about a bad day. I'm talking about the kind of season where it feels like life put you in a chokehold and forgot to let go. The bank account was dry. The phone calls were bill collectors. I was frustrated, tired, and broke in every sense of the word. And I remember sitting there wondering how I was going to make it through, thinking, maybe I missed it. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe I'm not enough. But then something hit me. I heard a whisper deep in my spirit. You don't need more money. You don't need a better plan. You just need to realize you are the asset. It stopped me cold because I'd spent so long chasing things outside of me, opportunities, applause, approval, that I forgot the greatest treasure I had was within me. Let me tell you something. Before any business succeeds, before any relationship flourishes, before any dream comes alive, you've got to know your own value. You've been so busy trying to add things to you that you haven't paused to understand what's already inside you. Let me put it like this. If someone handed you a treasure chest and it was heavy and sealed, you'd guard it, right? You'd protect it because it might contain gold. Well, guess what? You are that treasure chest. But the weight you carry isn't just pressure, it's potential. And the only reason you haven't opened it is because you've been conditioned to believe your value comes from how the world sees you. But the truth is, it comes from how you see yourself. I had to learn that wealth doesn't begin with money, it begins with identity. If you don't believe you're valuable, you'll sabotage every opportunity that comes your way. You'll undersell yourself, you'll settle for less, you'll delay your destiny because you think it belongs to someone more qualified. But let me remind you of this. God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. And you, yes, you are called. You've been anointed for something greater, but the ignition switch is your belief. You don't build success on strategy alone, you build it on self-worth. Because the person who understands they are the asset moves different. They speak different. They enter rooms different. They make decisions with clarity and conviction. They stop asking for permission and start moving in purpose. You are the asset, not your brand, not your products, not your resume. So the next time life throws chaos at you, the next time doubt creeps in, I want you to say it out loud, even if your voice shakes. I am the asset. And when you believe that, everything changes. Because when you stop trying to find the magic out there and start cultivating it in here, you become unstoppable. You know what one of the greatest threats to your calling is? Distraction disguised as inspiration. You scroll through social media and it looks like everybody's winning. He just bought a new house. She's on another vacation. They're speaking on stages, writing books, launching brands, closing deals. And there you are, sitting in your room, questioning everything you thought you knew about yourself. And slowly, without realizing it, you start outsourcing your identity. You start looking to them to tell you who you are. You start taking mental notes. Maybe I should dress like that. Maybe I need to talk like that. Maybe if I build my business like that, I'll finally get some traction. Let me stop you right there. Because when you copy someone else's assignment, the best you'll ever be is a duplicate of their destiny and a diluted version of your own. You weren't made to echo, you were made to resonate. There's a difference. See, when you outsource your identity, you put the pen in someone else's hand and let them write your story. But here's the problem. They don't know your script. They haven't lived your battles. They haven't cried your tears. They haven't prayed your prayers. They haven't wrestled with your demons. So how can they tell you how to walk out a journey they've never traveled? There was a season in my life where I was watching everyone else move ahead. People I'd started with were passing me by. Friends were buying things I couldn't afford. Strangers were building platforms I hadn't even thought of. And for a minute, I forgot who I was. I forgot what I carried. I started trying to shrink to fit in rooms that weren't even built for me. But I learned something powerful in that season. Comparison kills clarity. It robs you of your ability to hear your own voice, and worse, it drowns out God's voice. Because if you're so tuned in to their highlight reel, how will you ever recognize your own assignment? You've got to stop measuring your value by somebody else's timeline. Just because they're moving fast doesn't mean they're moving right. Just because they're visible doesn't mean they're valid for your life. Your destiny has its own divine rhythm, and when you try to run someone else's race, you miss your own mile markers. And let's be honest, some of y'all are exhausted not because you're doing too much, but because you're doing the wrong things. Trying to keep up with people who don't even know who they are. You've let trends become your truth. You've let likes become your legacy. You've let other people's applause become your compass. But here's the good news. You can take it back. You can reclaim your narrative. You can shut out the noise. You can delete the false templates you've been following. You can decide today, right now, that your identity is not up for auction. It's not up for debate. It's not a group project. You are not less than because your story is still unfolding. You are not late. You're in process, and that process is custom designed for your growth, not for their approval. There's power in knowing who you are. There's peace in owning your pace. There's freedom in refusing to be anyone but the you God created. So if you've been outsourcing your identity, handing out little pieces of your worth to every opinion that comes your way, it's time to call it back. Piece by piece, thought by thought, moment by moment. Because you were never meant to fit in. You were meant to stand out. You were never created to be a second-rate version of someone else. You were born to be a first-class expression of your calling. And it starts the moment you stop looking out there and start seeing the fire that's already burning in here. Let me talk to the ones who've been through something. Not the folks just scrolling for feel-good quotes, but the ones who've cried themselves to sleep. The ones who've smiled in public and suffered in private. The ones who have asked God, why me, more times than they can count. I need you to hear this. Your pain is not here to punish you. It's here to produce something in you. See, we live in a culture that tells you to avoid pain at all costs. Numb it, deny it, disguise it, distract yourself from it. But let me tell you something the world doesn't want to say out loud. Pain is a teacher. Pain is a mentor. Pain is a divine assignment wrapped in discomfort. I remember the time when I lost everything, money, momentum, peace. I felt abandoned. I felt forgotten. And I didn't want to hear another cliche about trusting the process. I wanted a breakthrough. I wanted answers. But all I got was silence, or so I thought. Because in that silence, God was speaking. In that stillness, he was shaping. In that pain, he was producing something in me that comfort never could. See, comfort builds complacency, but pain builds capacity. Pain stretches you. It shows you what you're really made of. It pulls things out of you that you didn't even know were there. Resilience, patience, grit, spiritual maturity. You don't learn how to fight when everything is working. You learn how to fight when nothing makes sense and you choose to show up anyway. Most people pray for elevation, but don't realize that pain is often the transportation. You want strength? That comes from struggle. You want wisdom? That comes from wounds. You want purpose? That's usually born in the place of your deepest pain. I'm not glorifying suffering. I'm not saying you should seek it, but I am saying when it shows up, don't run from it. Don't numb it. Don't hide it under a fake smile or a praise the Lord that's really just a mask. Feel it. Face it, and then use it. Because pain will either define you or refine you, and the choice is yours. You think the fire came to burn you up, but it actually came to burn off everything that doesn't belong. The bitterness, the pride, the dependency on others for your sense of worth. That had to go, and God knew the only way to get it out of you was to let you walk through something that would reveal what you were really relying on. And I know that hurts. I know you wish the story had gone another way. I know you wanted a smoother road, but you wouldn't be who you are without what you've been through. The pressure didn't come to crush you. It came to create something eternal. Diamonds don't form without pressure. Oil doesn't flow without crushing. Gold isn't refined without fire. And purpose doesn't manifest without pain. You didn't go through all that for nothing. Your tears have been counted. Your scars are sacred. And every ounce of that suffering, if you let it, can become the foundation of your authority. Because here's the beautiful part. The very thing that tried to destroy you is going to be the same thing that builds your platform. The same pain that almost took you out will become the story that lifts somebody else up. Your struggle will speak to someone else's salvation. Your healing will unlock theirs. But you've got to stop seeing pain as the enemy and start seeing it as a divine partner in your process. You're not being punished, you're being positioned. So whatever you've walked through, grief, betrayal, failure, addiction, loss, I want you to look it in the eye and say, thank you. You didn't break me. You built me. You made me stronger. And now I'm ready. Because when pain partners with purpose, the world doesn't get just a survivor. It gets a warrior. Everybody wants elevation, but not everybody wants the preparation that gets you there. And let me tell you something that might offend you before it frees you. You don't have a motivation problem. Motivation is cute, it's emotional, it's loud, it'll shout, let's go at 9 a.m. and be gone by lunchtime. But discipline shows up when motivation walks out. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't care if you're tired. It doesn't care if nobody claps for you. Discipline says, we move anyway. And I get it. You've got dreams, big ones. You've prayed, planned, visualized, journaled. But have you obeyed the little things that don't get applause? Have you shown up when nobody was looking? Because that's where real transformation happens, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows. In the gym, when it's just you and the weights. At your desk, when the world is asleep. In your car, reciting declarations out loud when your bank account says otherwise. See, discipline isn't just about schedules and habits. It's about identity. It's about understanding that who you're becoming matters more than what you're doing. You don't wake up wealthy. You don't stumble into purpose. You build it. You chisel it out of moments where no one is watching, no one is cheering, and no one is validating. But heaven is. Heaven sees every silent act of faithfulness. Every time you say no to comfort and yes to calling. Every early morning you rise up when the bed is warm and the excuses are louder than your alarm. That's what divine discipline looks like. And don't confuse this with hustle culture. I'm not talking about working until you burn out. I'm talking about alignment. I'm talking about ordering your life around what you say you believe. Because if your calendar doesn't match your convictions, you're just playing church. If your lifestyle doesn't match your prayers, you're just wishing out loud. Discipline is holy. It is spiritual. It is a sign that you are in agreement with the assignment on your life. Think about Jesus. Even he had to wake up early and pray. Even he fasted. Even he withdrew from the noise to stay aligned with the Father. And you think you're going to step into greatness without structure, without spiritual order, without accountability? Let me ask you this. How many opportunities have passed you by, not because you weren't called, but because you weren't ready? How many times have you cried for a breakthrough, but neglected the preparation that would make you able to sustain it? You've got to train for what you're praying for. You want financial overflow? Are you stewarding what you have? You want divine connections? Are you being a person worth connecting to? You want to speak on stages? Have you mastered the discipline of your tongue in private? Let me be real. You don't rise to the level of your intentions. You fall to the level of your training. And the difference between potential and purpose is bridged by one thing: daily, intentional, God-centered discipline. It's in the doing, it's in the denying, it's in the decision day after day to say, my calling is too great to live by my feelings. You can't conquer kingdoms when you haven't conquered your cravings. You can't lead others when you can't even lead yourself. But here's the beauty of it. Once you submit to the discipline starts shaping you. It becomes less about trying harder and more about becoming stronger. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to walk with a different kind of authority. Not loud, not arrogant, but grounded, rooted, focused, because you know you've been in the fire and you didn't flinch. You know you've been tempted and you didn't bend. You know you've been tired and you showed up anyway. And that's when you start becoming dangerous, not because of your talent, but because of your consistency. That's when favor finds you. Because favor falls on the faithful, and the faithful are forged in discipline. Let me tell you something that will shift the atmosphere of your life if you let it sink in. The world is not responding to what you want. It's responding to what you believe. You can write down your goals. You can repeat affirmations in the mirror. You can post vision boards and quote scripture all day. But if your posture doesn't match your proclamation, nothing changes. You don't attract what you fantasize about. You attract what you expect. And here's the kicker. Most people don't realize that their life is just a mirror reflecting what they've been silently projecting. You walk around thinking you're being overlooked, but you're really just under-anchored. You say, nobody sees me, but the truth is, you don't see yourself. You keep hoping someone will invest in you, promote you, believe in you, but you're walking around like you're uncertain about your own value. And people don't respond to potential, they respond to presence. You've got to carry yourself like what you're praying for is already true. Let me make it plain. If you walk in a room like you belong there, the room shifts. If you speak with conviction, people listen differently. If you carry the energy of someone who's already operating at the next level, doors start opening. Because you've stopped asking for permission to be who you already are. See, when I was just starting out, I didn't have the platforms, I didn't have the followers, I didn't have the network, but I had something even more powerful. I had certainty. I decided to act like I was already the man God called me to be. I wasn't faking it, I was faithing it. And let me tell you, when your spirit gets in alignment with your assignment, favor finds you. It's like the universe, the marketplace, the people around you, they all start responding to the signal you're sending out. And that signal says, I'm not waiting to be chosen. I've already been called. You've got to start living from the inside out, not the outside in. Because if you're always waiting on external validation to give you internal permission, you'll be a prisoner to people's opinions for the rest of your life. You'll dim your light because someone else isn't ready for your shine. You'll shrink in rooms God sent you to stretch. You'll apologize for your brilliance just to make average people feel comfortable. No more of that. Not now, not with what's at stake. The world is waiting for the real you, the bold you, the anointed, focused, disciplined, purpose-driven you. And if what you're projecting is fear, doubt, or hesitation, don't be surprised when life hands you back more of the same. But if you wake up every morning and project belief, if you speak from a place of power, not desperation, if you walk in rooms with a quiet authority that says, I don't need to be loud to be legendary, then everything around you starts aligning. Your energy is currency. Your attitude is a magnet. Your belief is a broadcast. And the signal you send out is shaping the story you're living in. So stop waiting for someone to crown you. Crown yourself. Stop waiting for someone to give you the green light. God already did. The moment he gave you breath, he gave you authority. So stand up, speak up, show up. Because when you stop playing small and start projecting from your divine identity, the world doesn't just notice you, it makes room for you. And not because you forced it, but because you finally believed you belonged. You know what most people are missing? It's not opportunity, it's not talent, it's not even time. What they're really missing is focus. Laser beam, unshakable, undistracted faith, the kind that keeps its eyes on the promise when everything around looks like a problem. Because let me tell you, faith that's not focused is just fantasy. You can shout about blessings, declare breakthrough, sow seeds, dance in church, and quote Jeremiah 29:11 all day. But if your faith is scattered, chasing 10 different things, second-guessing yourself every step of the way, don't expect fulfillment to show up in your life. Because fulfillment doesn't flow where there's confusion. Fulfillment follows clarity. Fulfillment follows. Most people don't fail because they weren't called. They fail because they were distracted. They started with fire. They started with a vision. But somewhere along the way, they let detours become destinations. They got caught up chasing what looked urgent instead of what was important. They tried to ride every wave, respond to every critic, seize every shiny opportunity, and they ended up nowhere, drained, discouraged, and disoriented. But real power comes when you say, I don't need 10 doors, I just need the right one. I don't need to please everybody, I just need to obey God. That's what focused faith sounds like. It's quiet, it's firm, and it doesn't flinch. Think about Abraham. God said, leave your country, leave your people, I'll show you the land. That's it, no GPS, no roadmap, just a promise. And Abraham focused his faith on that word and walked. Every step he took was on faith, and every step brought him closer to the fulfillment of the promise. He wasn't perfect, he had moments of doubt, but he kept moving in the direction of what God said. That's the kind of faith that shifts legacies. That's the kind of faith that builds nations. Not flaky faith, not emotional faith, focused faith. When your faith is focused, you stop reacting and start responding. You stop looking left and right, wondering what everybody else is doing, and you lock in on what you are supposed to do. You don't waste time explaining your calling to people who weren't there when God gave it to you. You don't water down your voice to match somebody else's volume. You don't dilute your mission to fit someone else's mood. You wake up with clarity. You move with conviction. You speak with authority, not because you're better, but because you're clear. And clarity is a weapon. When you know who you are and what you're called to do, confusion can't stick to you. You become dangerous, not because you're the loudest, but because you're the most anchored. And when you stay anchored in faith, faith that's focused, not flailing, God starts to accelerate things. What took others 10 years starts showing up in your life in one. Why? Because heaven honors obedience. Heaven responds to focused faith. And let's be real, faith without focus becomes frustration. Some of you are frustrated not because the promise is broken, but because your attention is. You're double-minded, 1 foot in the word, 1 foot in the world. One eye on your purpose, one eye on somebody else's progress. But when you bring your whole self to what God has called you to build, your mind, your heart, your discipline, your belief, things move. Resources find you, relationships align, doors open, wisdom flows. Why? Because God can trust you with fulfillment when he sees you're no longer chasing distraction. So if you want fulfillment, don't pray louder, focus deeper. Don't ask for more doors. Walk fully through the one he already gave you. Don't beg for signs, be the sign. Because when your faith is fixed, when your eyes are set, when your heart is locked in on the assignment, fulfillment is inevitable. Not just success, not just money, not just progress. Real fulfillment. That deep soul level satisfaction that comes from knowing you did exactly what you were created to do. And not only that, you did it with your eyes wide open, your heart fully surrendered, and your faith laser focused on the finish.